Good morning, everybody, our speaker and participants. Welcome all of you to VT Seoul International Convention 2021. And now you're in the live oral presentation called The Second Language Learners' Perception of Blended Learning and Effectiveness. Joining the session today, I want to send a warm welcome to Miss Hanh Nguyen. She's currently the lecturer in Hanh University. And before we move on, I would like to thank you as well for your staying with us and your contribution to the success of the event today. In case you have any questions, just feel free to drop them at the chat box so that we will gather and answer you later. So I will not let you wait further. Now, I welcome on the stage Miss Hanh Nguyen. Please come on.
Thank you very much, Nguyen. Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for coming to my talk. I know this is one of the last talks of the convention, and you're probably getting tired, and I really appreciate that you still stay here and listen to me talking about blended learning. So my topic is second language learners' perception of blended learning. So what is blended learning? I see a lot of students here, and so I guess after 2 days at a virtual conference, you are all very familiar with the concept of virtual learning, e-learning, online learning, and blended learning. So can someone from the audience tell me what you think blended learning is? What is blended learning? It's so cute that we have a lot of students here. Okay. Okay, if you don't want to say it, I'll do it. So there is an extensive literature on blended learning, and I'm also sure that you are very familiar with the concept of virtual learning, e-learning, and probably blended learning now. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining these concepts again, but I would just talk about how this concept is defined in this particular study and in this talk. So we are all very familiar with traditional classroom environment. Yeah, we grew up with this. And online environment, online learning and teaching environment. So for the past 10 years or 15 years, it has been well developed. And for the past 2 years, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it has become even more popular. It has become a huge thing in education. So in our study, we consider the blended courses at the course which combine traditional classroom and online learning and teaching environments. So in blended learning courses, a portion of face-to-face time is replaced by online activities. So, and this portion depends on individual institutions. For example, at Vinh University, maybe 30% is spent online and 70% is a face-to-face time between teachers, students, and lecturers. At some other university, it may be 20 online and 80% offline. But I believe that the guideline of the Ministry of Education and Training in Vietnam is the university can choose to teach 30% online and 70% face-to-face. Blended learning has been applied widely in language and learning teaching and in different parts of the world. For the past 2 years, I think it has become so popular due to the pandemic, and a lot of studies have attempted to investigate whether this instructional approach is effective, and how second language learner perceive this form of instruction. And in general, second language learners perceived blended learning as effective. They found the combination between online learning and face-to-face learning helpful to their language improvement. And second language learners also find blended courses more convenient, flexible, and engaging than single mode learning. And with single mode learning, I mean fully face-to-face or fully online. And students seem to have a more negative attitude toward fully online courses. They feel like there is a lack of huge lack of interaction between teacher and students in fully online courses. And students with higher achievement are more satisfied with blended courses as compared to students with lower achievements. So this is the positive part of blended learning. But at the same time, students also report that they find blended courses lack support and connection between learners and peers, learners and teachers. They also find insufficient connection between the face-to-face and online components of blended courses. It means sometimes they don't think that there is the e-learning part is not related to the face-to-face activities, and they don't support each other well, or they don't complement each other. And second language learners also find difficulties in using the e-learning platform because they lack computer skills, or a lot of time is because of limited internet access. And learning motivation. So learning motivation is one of the driving factors leading to success in language learning. However, at the moment, there is not much evidence about the relationship between learning motivation and student success in the blended courses. So the question is whether students with higher learning motivation will succeed more in a blended courses than a student with a lower learning motivation, and whether there is a difference in the way they perceive blended courses between student with higher learning motivation and a student with lower learning motivation. And also language proficiency. So as you know, in many learning and teaching circumstances, students need to have a certain level of language proficiency to be able to follow instruction and to succeed. So how about blended courses? Do beginner students will benefit more from blended courses, or students with higher proficiency will benefit more from blended courses? Somehow we still don't have a lot of research on this topic. So that's why we carried out this project, and our study was to examine the perception of second language learners toward the effectiveness of blended learning. Specifically, we aim to answer the the following questions. So number one, to what extent do second language learners perceived blended learning? Number two, is there a relationship between second language learners' learning motivation and their perception of blended learning? Is there a relationship between second language learners' computer skills and their perception of blended learning? And the last question, is there a relationship between second language learners' language proficiency and their perception of blended learning? So 18 students whose major was either English teaching or English linguistics participated in the study. They included 16 females and 2 males at the age from 19 to 21. 8 of them rated their computer skills as advanced and 10 as at an intermediate level. 11 of them rated their learning motivation as at the high level and 7 at the medium level. And 10 of them also rated themselves as their language proficiency at the pre-intermediate level or B1, and 8 of them at elementary level or A2. And all of the participants were within their undergraduate program. All of their language courses have this portion of 30% online and 70% spent for face-to-face learning. And this is the policy of the university even before the pandemic. It depends on the classroom size. Because of the difficulty in student recruitment, the university has this policy. If a class has about 20 students, the whole course will be taught on offline. But if the class has less than 20 students, certain amount of class time will be moved to online platform, and certain amount, and in this case, 70% will be spent on like in a physical classroom. And to examine second language learners' perception of blended learning, we administer a questionnaire, and the questionnaire consisted of 2 parts. Part 1, there was questions about background information, for example, age, gender, and students also had to rate their learning motivation, computer skills, and language proficiency. And in the second part, there were 12 5-point rating items about second language learners' perception of blended learning. There were 7 items about the effectiveness of blended learning on language skills and knowledge. 1 item about the effectiveness of blended learning on self-learning skills, and 1 item about the effectiveness of blended learning on learning motivation, and 1 item about computer skills, and 1 item about the complementarity of the E and face-to-face learning, to see whether students perceive the 2 components of blended courses are related on, or whether they complement each other effectively. And 1 item about second language learners' overall satisfaction of blended learning. And here come the results. So this table presents the descriptive statistic for students' perception of blended learning effectiveness. So as you can see, there are 12 items here. The first item asking students their perception of blended learning on overall language skills. And there are items, and then items about individual language skills, and then also vocabulary knowledge and pronunciation skills. And then this is for sound learning, computer skill, and yeah, I'm sorry. So none of the students choose the disagree or strongly disagree option. So they either have a neutral opinion about the effectiveness of blended learning, or they agree or strongly agree with this statement. So you can see that all of the items have a quite high mean. So about 374 being the lowest one for pronunciation. And for vocabulary knowledge, it got 4.76, or almost reached to the point of strongly agree. And if you notice that some of the means I put it in the red color. So it's for speaking, writing, and pronunciation. So these are productive part of like a language learning skills. And you notice that they have a lower mean. So it looks like students have, like student perceive like blended learning is better for learning receptive skill rather than productive skills. And yeah, and then students also think that say blended learning help them improve their computer skills, like with a very high mean here. And overall, students say for item number 12, I would like to take language courses with applied blended learning, with a mean of 4.46. So it means most of them agree that blended learning is effective, and they want to have the courses again, to take the courses again. And to answer the second question, whether there is a relationship between learning motivation and perception of blended learning, we carried out an independent sample t-test, and for question number 1 to question number 4, we have to carry out 3 independent samples t-tests. So the p-value of the t-test was compared to the adjusted p-value 0.05 divided by 3. So we have the adjusted p-value as 0.02. So, and according to the results of the first t-test, there is a significant difference in the perception of blended learning between students with high motivation and students with low motivation. So, and if you look at this chart, you can see that students with higher motivation perceive blended learning as more effective, has a higher perception for blended learning than students with more moderate motivation. And for the third question, to see whether there is a difference in how students with high level of computer skills and students with lower level of computer skill perceive blended learning. And the results showed a significant difference between the two groups. So it means students with advanced level of computer skills perceived blended learning as significantly more effective than students with an intermediate level of computer skills. And for the last question, we'll look at whether there is a relationship between language proficiency and perception of blended learning. And the results show that there is no difference in the way students at B1 level perceived blended learning as compared to students at A2 level. So language proficiency in this sample, in this study, has no relationship with the perception of blended learning. So in general, the results show that second language learners had a positive perception of blended learning language courses. So this results was in line with previous finding of students perceiving blended learning as an effective instructional approach. And blended learning appears to be perceived as a more effective in learning receptive skills, including listening and speaking. And I wouldn't talk about this part today, but this is part the data of a bigger project. And we also have this interview a participant, and for the interview, participant also say something like when they do listening and speaking and writing courses within the blended language courses, they find it more difficult to improve their speaking skill because they need more time and more feedback from their peers and from their teachers. So they feel like if we have this 30% face-to-face, it will be better for them to improve their speaking ability. And the e-learning components appear to allow students to more flexibility, like study at their own pace and time, and they seem to complement the face-to-face teaching component. And as we can, from the results of the second question, we can say students may benefit more from blended learning if they have a higher level of computer literacy skills. So if they have a higher computer skill, they tend to navigate better with the online platform, and they may be better with those activities that students require them to do online. And then also they may be motivated, they may feel more motivated to participate in the online activities or online discussion. So as a result, they may perceive blended learning as more effective. And students with higher level of learning motivation may attempt to exploit the benefit of blended learning more than do their lower level counterpart. So it means, as we can see from the results, students with higher learning motivation perceive blended learning as a more effective than students with lower learning motivation. So it looks like students with higher learning motivation will try their best in their use of e-learning platform, in their use of materials from two parts of blended courses to make the best out of their learning. So so learning motivation can be an important factor which design student success and perception of blended courses. And the next one, students with low and high language proficiency may benefit similarly from blended learning. So the results of this study show that neither student with higher or lower level of language proficiency but like perceived blended learning significantly differently. So it looks like language proficiency doesn't have a relationship with how they perceive or how they succeed within these blended courses. However, I have to admit that in this study, we included a very small sample size, only 18 students, and 16 of them were females and 2 was males, so it's very unbalanced in terms of gender. And we already use the cell-rated measures. So even for computer skills or learning motivation and language proficiency, we asked students to rate their own computer skills and language skills. So it may be different if we use an objective measurement. And the next one is, we talked about perception, but we haven't looked at learning outcome, which is even more important in teaching, in language, in learning and teaching. So we don't know whether students who participated in blended learning will have a better learning outcome as compared to students who participate in the course, which is fully face-to-face or fully online. And so future research could pay attention more to the limitation about studies, and find out more about the relationship between blended learning and learning outcome, and about the relationship between language proficiency and students' perception and achievement on when they have to take language blended learning courses. And I think that's it for my talk. I think it's pretty long, and I'm sorry. And some references. Yeah, and thank you very much for listening. And if you have any comments and questions, please.
Thank you, Ms. Hanh, very much for your informative and useful presentation. So our participants, do you have any questions about her study and you want to know more about blended learning? Please go ahead with your questions. So when we are waiting the questions from them, I'm very curious about your study, and I have a question for you that based on which criteria should we divide the proportion between online study and face-to-face study in our classroom?
I think, thank you for your questions. That's very interesting questions, and I think it depends on many factors. So I think particular in our context, in the Vietnamese context, it has, first we had to follow the guideline from the Ministry of Education and Training to see how much time we can do online, how much time we can do offline. And then it should also depend on the subjects, on the nature of the courses themselves. To me, though, the courses, to talk about the language learning and teaching, I'm not so confident that if we have a large portion of online for the courses with productive language skill course, like speaking or writing is okay, but probably not speaking. But think about courses like grammar and pronunciation. We probably can do more online and part of it offline. And also it depends on classroom size. Like at my university, if we have a less than 10 students, we even increase the portion of online activities, like 60%, no, is it? 70% is done online and 30% is done offline. So is it for less than 10 students? I think it's doable, but and then also the facilities and the system of each university, it really depends. And I know that at Vinh University, this year it has been changed to like this 30% online and 70% offline. I have some like relatives who are students at Vinh University, and they are not so familiar with this system, and at the moment they say, oh, we find it difficult to navigate online and something like that. So it depends on many factors, and I think the facility and the preparation of the institution for the before the course is very important. Even if we depends on the course, we can do 40, 60 or 30 and 70, whatever. But if we do not have enough preparation in terms of the system, in terms of the training for students, we have to make sure that. Okay.
Yeah, so that's a very valid point, and I've got it. Okay, thank you very much for your study and your instruction so far. Actually, we have one more question from the participants. However, because of the limited time, maybe Ms. Hanh, can you give the email or your contact information so that you can discuss with them any further questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
How yes. Know that they have that question?
Yeah, actually the question is it reliable in the research when you just use 18 samples? Okay, and you can stop sharing the screen now.
Okay, sure.
So participants, let's prepare for our photo session now. The very quick one, because we have to spend time for the closing ceremony. Okay, so now please anyone open your camera and we will send a heart to Miss Speaker, Miss Hanh.
Okay, that is weird.
She's wonderful.